Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about Truly from Last of the Summer Wine, who are otherwise known as Herbert Truelove, or Truly the Yard. And yeah, I'm going to be talking about him. This is another character file review video. And yeah, what do I think of Truly as a character? I think that he is truly amazing. Don't get me wrong at all, I really like the character. I think he's brilliant. I think he was a good replacement for Foggy Dewhurst, and quite the contrast, I feel like, because the way Foggy used to talk about the war and go on about it and act really boring about all the war and everything like that, and just constantly go on about the war, Truly was different. He would go on about his time as a police officer, and then the former Mrs. Truelove, which he constantly mentioned in practically every single appearance, which I always found funny. He painted her out to be some kind of evil, horrible, manipulative woman, which I really find funny, and I find it really interesting that we never actually see her. Well, we do see her. We see a photo of her from behind, but we never actually see her up front. Because I've always wanted to know the mystery of the former Mrs. Truelove. What do you reckon she was like? So that's a rather a curious thing, but shame we never got to find out. So Frank Thornton, he came into the series in 1997, playing Truly, and yeah, he did a great job. It was rather odd because Foggy Dewis does appear in the episode There Goes the Groom, which was the Christmas special of 1997, but there was a body double in it pretending to be him, so that was rather interesting. So there was a body double pretending to be Foggy Dewhurst, and so they could quickly, get rid of Foggy, and in comes Truly. So a bit more of the transition between, having Foggy and then Truly. And I feel like Truly, he stands out as well because he was joined in 1997 and stayed until the end, which I think's incredible because the third man was that kind of thing. There have been four of them, and one of them had come back twice. So it was mad that he stayed on that long, and he appeared in a whopping 135 episodes. That is a lot more than a lot of other characters. Yeah, so that's mad. But I also do like how him and Norman Clegg, I'm going to mention this, but him and Norman Clegg have such a great friendship. And even when towards the end of the series, anywhere between series 29 and series 32, they're completely they're not really part of the main story as it was, but they still are in every episode, which I feel like the fact that the makers and the writers decided to keep them, I think is amazing, because I feel like that would just be really wrong and immoral to just get rid of them, because that would just be bad. But I'm glad that Roy Clark decided to keep Norman Clegg and Truly together, for the remainder of the thingy, where you just have that little before and after gag of them in Clegg's house. But I mean, I would rather have that than them not be in the episodes at all. I think everybody else would agree. And I know there's lots of controversial stuff about, Last Summer Wine, the later series, not being as good, but I can see why that occurs, because there's not Clegg and Truly aren't really his main part of it. And obviously Compo died 10 years prior as well, so yeah, I can see why a lot of people but the 2000s, I feel like this is when Truly started to get really good. Now, I'm going to be completely honest, not the late 2000s, but the early mid 2000s, because Truly was being put more front and center, which I found really good. And I liked him. So you had Clegg, you had Truly, and then you had Billy, and you had Tom. And those four, I'm going to keep on mentioning it, but I really love those episodes where they're together. I think that's a great four. And even throw in Alvin as well, they're just brilliant. But yeah, I feel like Truly works as a kind of leader of the group, and obviously with him being a former police officer, he kind of really works with his character, and that's what I find amazing. Obviously, the actor who plays Truly, Frank Thornton, he was obviously best known for Are You Being Served, playing Captain Peacock. Don't know if any of you guys have watched that show. But yeah. But yeah, with him and Billy and Tom, and obviously Clegg, that group of four, I always enjoy those episodes, and that's probably my second favorite group. Well, no, actually, no, third favorite group. I think of characters. Personally, I mean, I don't think they're as good as Seymour with Compo and Clegg, but I think that group of characters I feel like is really enjoyable to watch, and I do really love that character truly. And also, I like how the daft plans, they're not, they do get a bit daft, over a lot, obviously, because it's a comedy show and that's kind of what they go with. But yeah, I do really enjoy how much of that. But like towards the end, Clegg kind of gets shoved to the side. I think in like series 28 or whatever, where they start kind of getting rid of Clegg. Not they don't completely get rid of Clegg, but you know what I mean. They just push him to the side of it. And that's when Truly comes more front and center, and it's him, Billy, and Alvin, that kind of trio. But that's not really categorized as a trio because we still include Clegg. But I feel like it's a really great friendship that these characters have, and you can really tell that of like Frank Thornton and Peter Sallis, they look like they got on. I don't know whether they got on in real life. I assume they did, hopefully. But yeah, you can really tell in the actual those characters that they really like each other, and I feel like that's brilliant how they managed to do that. But back to the former Mrs. Truelove. Who was the former Mrs. Truelove? We still don't know. That's still a complete mystery. And why did they break up? We don't really know. Uh, I know her. I know her. I believe her name was Mabel. Mabel, I think that's what her name was, and she was like horrible to him all the time. She wants half the fridge freezer. I remember that in an episode, and she wants half of everything. And there's even the episode where there's a standout for Trudy, where his his wife is about to get married to a new bloke, and Trudy meets the new bloke, and it's a bit like, ooh, there's a bit of a like tension between them. It's like, yeah, it was it was a really enjoyable episode. He was like, I hope you enjoy hell. That's basically what it was like. So that was funny. But truly, I've got to say, as one of the longest serving characters in Last of Wine, he does do a good job. And the thing is, he had a very difficult job. Not only has he to succeed Brian Wilds as Foggy Dewhurst, that is like a complete task. I mean, he's already got years ahead of Truly, and he stayed in the role even longer than Truly. So yeah, so he kind of had that to compete with, which I mean, for Frank Thornton must have been a bit difficult because you're coming into a show where you taking over a character as Foggy Dewhurst. I mean, that's pretty intense. I mean, as a character, because love Foggy Dewhurst, what a legend. Brian Wilde, rest in peace. You're a legend. Yeah, I do enjoy. Sorry about that. Enjoy watching Truly. I think he's a brilliant character. But something else I'm going to mention is that this. So first, the Summer Wine. He's not in it. He's not in it completely. No mention of Herbert Truelove. No mention at all. But that's probably because I know people probably get annoyed that he wasn't in that prequel. But the thing is, the character probably wouldn't have even been written by then, due to the fact that in First Summer Wine you get all those characters that like Compo, Clegg, Foggy, Seymour, and all that kind of stuff. You get them all in there, and Wally and all that sort. And whereas with Truly, he wasn't there because he probably wouldn't have been written or thought about. Roy Clark probably didn't even have the character in his mind at that point, because it doesn't seem like, oh, we'll just replace Brian Wilde. I think it was only because Brian Wilde got ill that they had to replace him during There Goes the Groom as a kind of stand-in until he became obviously part of the main three. But something else I'm going to mention is that I do like the relationship between Truly and Clegg and Compo. I feel like that trio, as the last trio Compo ever got to work with, I feel like work really well and thoroughly enjoy them three together. But obviously some of the later ones I do enjoy truly with them as well. I mean, I do like him and Alvin. They mock Alvin for being short and all that, even though I don't think Alvin even is that short. He's taller than Clegg, but I find that funny. I'll see Billy, and they say, "Oh, it was like a tall Wally," and things like that, and stuff like that. And so much so, even Billy, I believe, moves next door to Truly or something like that. I can't remember exactly how it goes, but I do enjoy like those kind of relationships, those friendships that they've got, and I feel like that's just great. And I love how they get along as well. So yeah, I kind of have to say that on about Truly is that he was a real character who I really love watching. I think he's a great character. And I feel like it's a bit of a shame that in the latest series he kind of gets shoved to the side with Clegg. But I feel like at his prime, anywhere between like 1997 to 2005 or no, 2006, anywhere between that kind of period, I feel like he really excelled as being a brilliant. Within those 9 years, I'd say it was pretty good. And there goes the groom. That is an absolutely amazing episode. I recommend you watch that if you want to get to see Truly. But there is an inconsistency with Truly. I'm going to mention this because I might as well. So in the first episode that he appears in, there goes the groom. Um, Clegg and Compo don't recognise Truly. They don't seem to know him from somewhere, as if he's just a brand new person. They meet him and speak to him and all that, which I think is completely strange. And then backtrack to a few episodes later, and suddenly he went to school with them. He had all this shared history with them, which seems a bit out of the blue. Same with Seymour. He suddenly had this shared history, whereas previously he didn't. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Roy Clark decided to do certain things like that, but I don't. I really don't know. But it does seem a bit odd when you watch them all together. Um, but if you just want to watch Last of the Summer Wine because you like Last of the Summer Wine, it doesn't really matter, and you can enjoy it for what it is. I enjoy it for what it is. But I just thought I might mention it here, just in case you guys didn't know that. But yeah, truly though, Frank Thornton. Back to Frank Thornton's performance. I think it's brilliant, obviously, as Truly. But he also, I also do love a thing about is how he caught the Hackney Killer, when he's also in There Goes the Groom. By the way, sorry for mentioning There Goes the Groom for quite a bit. I watched There Goes the Groom like not even that long ago, so that's why it's fresh in my mind. He kind of said about how he caught a Hackney Killer, and he goes to the police station. And of course, no one's ever heard of him there, which I find funny, which makes us believe he was part of the police force, but then was he really like how long did he actually spend as a police officer? But they do make reference to Truly being in as a police officer in London, which makes sense. But Frank Thornton was actually born in London, I believe. Yeah, that kind of makes him part of that, which I find really interesting. And something else I'm going to mention is that he's very different to all the other third men that have come before him. He's not a posh, like up himself, you know, Wally. He's very different to all those other, third men before or since, really. Um, which I find intriguing, obviously, that he's different to the previous three. Like he's different. He's different to Blaine Meyer. He's different to Foggy. He's different to Seymour. He's different to them three. Which I find interesting because obviously Blaine Meyer was like he was a Tory. He was very up himself. He was also he was also in the army, so he had that kind of military kind of I'll do this because I'm a strong man and all that kind of stuff, which I found interesting. But I do love Blaine Meyer. He's a brilliant character. I should do a character file review on him. That'll probably be the next one, by the way. Yeah, so I feel like that's rather interesting. But obviously Seymour, he's a posh school teacher kind of thing, which I really enjoy as well. Seymour's a brilliant character. And obviously, you've got Foggy, the infamous Foggy Dewhurst, Corporal Dewhurst, and yeah. So yeah, he is quite different, but I feel like that works, that he's quite different, because it makes him does stand out from everybody else. Also, he's really not as posh as those other three. He's really not as posh. So when he says that he went to school with them, doesn't it makes a little bit more sense, even though obviously it contradicts There Goes the Groom. But yeah, I feel like Truly as a character is great though. His characteristics, I do love his hat. He's got a hat very similar to this. I've actually got a. Sorry about that. Things on my phone. Yeah, this is very similar to Trudy's hat in the show. This doesn't really fit me. It's a bit big for my head, but yeah. So yeah, he mainly wears a hat similar to this. So that's interesting, and that's a bit different because all the other characters in Lost and Wine don't really. All the other like third men at least all have different types of hats, and this hat is similar to obviously Blaine Myers and obviously Truly's, because they do look fairly similar, but they're obviously they sound very different as well. Obviously, the famous kind of like creamy like grey coat that he wears as well, rather nice. And then he's got the the blue suit with the I think it's got pinstripes, I can't remember, and he's got the tie with the little I think it's like a police thingy on it. But yeah, he's a brilliant character though, and I do love when he speaks to some of the police officers. They're like, they'll be wanting my autograph because I've done all stuff like that, and I find that funny that they it's like he's a famous celebrity police officer, which I find funny and really do enjoy Lost and Wine and Truly as a whole. So that brings us to the end of today's video. Well, I hope you all enjoyed it. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in a video soon enough. Yeah, tell me what your favourite Truly moments are in the comment section down below if you want. Yeah, Truly is a brilliant character. I mean, he made great appearances between There Goes the Groom to I Don't Cry at Weddings. How Not to Cry at Weddings, I believe it is. Yeah, so he did a brilliant job. I think he stood out as a great character and brought his own different betrayal to the table in comparison to all the other third men before or since. And yeah, Truly. And rest in peace, Frank Thornton. You're a legend. And yeah, see you in a video soon enough. Bye.